All right, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Bahashim, Waha Kwakudash. Want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth, and I want to give a hearty Shalom to the Akim and the Yaquaf scattered around the four corners of the planet Earth that have returned to the obedience of the Scriptures in these latter days through the true names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shah, all right, which are the true names of the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son. All right, this is going to be a quick hit through the Spirit, and I'll entitle it Perilous Times Shall Come. All right, perilous times shall come, and through the Spirit, I wanted to go into this real quick because there are a couple of things that I noticed over the last week or so. All right, the last few days, some things that I've noticed in my daily life with people that are around me, and really, it's all the Spirit. It's all the Spirit. Everything that we go through, everything that we experience on a daily basis, for every brother. Um, things aren't random, things aren't coincidences, and if you're a man of the Lord, you know the Lord is guiding your steps, and He's allowing you to see particular things. You know, and like the scriptures say, we could start here in Matthew. All right, because the Lord said, whatever He tells you in secret, proclaim it openly. All right, roughly paraphrasing. So let's get this real quick. Let's see. This is my screen. This is Matthew chapter 5 and I'm going to start at verse 15. It says, or verse 14, it says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." All right. So if there's a light, that's within you. If you've been called into this thing, there's a light that's within you. All right. And really that light is the word. Okay. It's the Spirit of the Lord working within you. All right. Because that's the light, and light brings clarity. Like the elder always says, the elder in Birmingham. All right. He always makes that statement: light brings clarity. Okay. So because we have the word within us, all right, we're able to see particular things, all right, and make sense of particular things. Right. So let's read this again. Matthew 5 and 14, it says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid." All right. And a hill, all right, and that city really it represents the elect. All right, represents the elect, because like it says in Isaiah 60, towards the end of the chapter, I want to say verse 22, "One shall become 1,000." All right. So if you're of the elect, if you're a man of the Lord and you are delivered, all right, you already have a city, within your seed, within your sack, man. All right. So one man is going to become a city. All right. And each individual man is going to be joint heirs with Yahweh. All right. In the kingdom, you know. But it says a city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Right. And a hill gives you a better vantage point. Like if you go, you trek up a hill, you trek up a mountain, you're going to have better vision. You're going to be able to see better. You're going to have a broader perspective of the landscape. All right. So not only did the Lord give us the light, but He elevated our perspective for us to see particular things. Okay. It says, verse 15, it says, "Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house." Okay. So the Lord lit your candle. He gave you the Spirit. He gave you the vision. Okay, so that we could come out and we could preach and we could teach and we could warn, warn the body and communicate things to the body. Verse 16, it says, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." All right, so we're to let that light shine. All right, so I'll start there. All right, because one thing that I noticed real recently is that there's a lot of death, and we've been known this. We've been known, judgment goes out on the daily. All right, goes out on the daily. But 2026, all right, the table has pretty much been set for a lot of mortality, a lot of people to be um you know punished, a lot of people to be get got, man. All right, and really it's crazy to think about. We're closer to 2030 now than we are to 2019 and 2020, the whole CVID situation. All right, with the whole jab, the hokey pokey, man, that everybody was taking. All right, that's still in people's bodies, man. That's still in people's bodies, right? You got people drugged up. All right, you got people drugged up on all different type of drugs, okay, and medications. You got people drinking more than ever. All right, more depressed than ever. All right, you got people literally on the brink of losing their mind. Okay, and Yahweh Shemiah Shah has it like this for a reason. Let's get this real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 24, and why is it showing this? This is Isaiah chapter 24, and I'm gonna start at verse 4. It says, "The earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish." And the haughty people, right? If you were gonna pick a country or a nation on the planet Earth that had the most haughty, entitled people, it would by far it would by far be America. It would be Babylon the Great. That's why people can't stand Americans, all right, when they travel overseas, because you know an American when you see one or when you're around one, because they're haughty, they're haughty. All right, but the Lord is breaking people's spirits. All right, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anguish, there's a lot of angst and vexation built up in these people, and all of that is going to get released. All that is going to come out, all right, onto the physical plane, so to speak. Okay, this stuff doesn't just happen, randomly. All right, the Lord, it's a build up. It's a build up. Okay, Isaiah 24:5, it says, "The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant." Right, so the Lord right now is letting the whole world marinate in wickedness. All right, because they refuse to, hearken to the obedience of the scriptures, which they weren't designed to do. All right, really, only the elect and the remnant were designed to fear the Lord in these times and to move accordingly. All right, the rest of the planet Earth is going to have to catch up. They're going to have to find out the hard way. All right, and that's why the Lord has miseries prepared. Okay, miseries and perilous times are coming, man. All right, and like the elder Micah Allah said in one of his videos I was watching a couple weeks ago, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. This is 2 Timothy 3:1. It says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come." All right, now let's get this word perilous. Because the scriptures say, "By the fear of the Lord we persuade men." All right, people will often, deem this word doom and gloom, right? We're the bearers of bad news, but guess what? We're pushing the fear of the Lord because it works. All right. And on the flip hand side of that, all right, we push faith as well. We're faith based, because fear and faith, they go hand in hand, and they drive you to action. They give you a sense of urgency, which is what most of our people they're lacking. They think everything is all good. They think everything is going to continue operating how it is, you know, here in America, and it's not. Everything's getting ready to change. All right, everything's getting ready to change, man. All right, this is 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. All right, let's get this word perilous. All right, chalipos. It says hard to do, hard to take, to approach, to bear. All right, dangerous. Okay. So the Lord doesn't have anything sweet prepared for Babylon the Great, man. He doesn't have anything sweet prepared for these people either. Okay, this place is getting ready to get moved out of the way. And everybody outside of the circle, everybody, all right, outside of, this truth, all right, the Lord has a bullseye on your forehead, man. The Lord is not playing. All right, and we go into these words because it's important to go into these words and really get the understanding of what the author is trying to convey, in these letters. All right. And as we've been reading, as we've been preaching, we've been trying to get that through to you people. But guess what? Y'all are just going to have to live through it. Y'all just going to have to go through it. And this is why it's been so important to, during this grace period, for you to be building up your faith. The same way Noah built that ark is the way we were supposed to be building up our faith. Okay, and matter of fact, since I said that, let me get it. This is Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 7. It says, by faith, Noah, being warned of the Most High, of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house. All right, and that's the formula. All right, the faith and the fear should drive you to prepare. We're spiritual preppers, man. We're spiritual preppers. All right, and the only way you can prep is through the spirit through the spirit of the Lord. All right, through the Lord basically taking you through hell, taking you through particular things, so that when the real time comes, you can handle it and you can bear it. But this is 2 Ezra 8:50. Let me go to this. All right, 2 Ezra 8:50. It says, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. All right. So all this pride that people have been walking around with is not going to be made null and void. There's not just going to be, it ain't just, it is what it is. Like I saying in the world, it is what it is, man. Nah, it ain't what it is, man. And like it says in Proverbs 11:8, a sentence against evil work is not executed speedily. So these people think everything is all good, roughly paraphrasing, man, when everything ain't all good. All right, perilous times are coming in 2026. For those within the body and those without. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is. All right. Let's get another one. This is 2 Ezra 15. All right. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15. And I'm going to read verse 11 and 12. All right. It says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm. Right. Going into the deliverance. Right. In verse 10, let me read verse 10. It says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Right. Talking about Jacob's trouble. All right. Jacob's trouble, man, is all throughout the volume of the book. All right. For these bonehead niggas that are teaching otherwise. All right. Jacob's trouble is here. Okay. Verse 10, it says, "Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt," which is talking about here. All right. The new Egypt, spiritual Sodom in Egypt. Verse 11, it says, "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm." All right. Because the Lord isn't going to, everybody's not going to be destroyed. The Lord is going to deliver. The Lord is going to deliver his elect, and the Lord is going to save a third, 1/3, pursuant to Zechariah 13. Okay. 2/3 are going to get deleted. They're not going to make it. They're going to be brought back in the kingdom. All right. Verse 11, it says, "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof." All right. And when you read about the plagues in Egypt, all right, the Lord was getting busy on Egypt, man. All right. Turning the water into blood, man. All right. And then ultimately with the grand finale, the Lord smote all the firstborn, man. Right. And when those things happen, you best believe, before those things were happening, before the Lord plagued Egypt back then, you already know the Egyptians had to be swagged up. They had to be swagged up, man, feeling themselves, right? Because they were the superpower on the planet Earth during that time, and they had Jake in captivity, so it was the same spirit, But the Lord is going to bring all that low. All right, it's about to get dark. It's about to get real dark, man. And if you haven't been taking this time serious, if you haven't been taking this grace period serious, you're gonna be out of there. You're gonna be out of there, man. Okay. This is Second Ezra chapter 15, and I'm gonna read verse 12. It says, "Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that Yahweh Shai shall bring upon it." Right. So the Lord is getting ready to do a lot of damage. The way of life here in Babylon the Great, how things normally operate, is getting ready to change. It's getting ready to change, man. All right. And Esau is trying to force this NWO, which he's going to. All right. And things are about to get tight. Things are about to get tight, man. But when that MOTB rolls out, things are going to start. Prophecies are going to start popping, man. They're going to start going. So like the scriptures say, it's high time to awake out of sleep. It's high time to wake out of sleep, man. I'll get one more. All right, let's get this, and let me see. Right, because if you've been obedient during this grace period, if you've been doing what you can do to the best of your ability, all right, then there's that's where our hope lies. That's where our faith lies in Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right, and that he accepts our sacrifice. All right, and that we have that mark from exemption, that the why. That's where our hope lies, man. That's where our hope lies. Okay. Let me see if I can find this real quick. All right, this is James chapter 5 and verse 8. And it reads, it says, "Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh." All right. So let's get this word establish. Okay. James 5 and 8. It says, "Establish your hearts." Right. Let's get this word establish. Sterizo. And it says to establish, to strengthen, to make stable, place firmly, set fast, fix. All right. So that's the and how do you do that? You do that by cleaving on to the wisdom and the knowledge, right? Isaiah 33 and 6, "Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time, and the fear of the Lord his treasure." Okay, so we're going to continue to abide in those things, and to grow in those things, so that Abaratazah, we receive mercy in times to come, because perilous times are coming, Akim. All right. But Lord's willing, this was edifying. I just wanted to make a quick point on that. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Bashem Rakakwadash. Shalom.